Buenos dias, bonjour, buongiorno. I'm Bruce Marshall, back in the United States after the last 10, 11 days watching the World Cup overseas. We're ready to talk about some more action coming up here, starting with a couple of Tuesday matches that look pretty good as the World Cup wraps up its second cycle of a group play before they get to the third cycle on a Wednesday. First of all, though, a couple of quick housekeeping reminders as usual. Don't forget, click that subscribe button on your screen there. Make sure you get all of our Wager Talk TV videos. Also, don't forget, we've got some special offers going here right now. How about 3 days of picks of mine for $69? We'll add 3 days free on top of that. That's 6 days for $69. And it's been a pretty good run lately. World Cup 10-2 into Monday, and Major League Baseball on a 40-22 run since April 19th, also into Monday. So 3 days, $69. We'll add 3 days, three. That's 6 days for $69 of my picks. A great deal there. Now let's take a look at some of this action on Tuesday in the World Cup. As you can see on the crawl at the bottom of the screen there, we're going to first of all look at the early kickoff, or the first kickoff of the day, down in Houston, where Portugal is a pretty heavy favorite over Uzbekistan. And you can see the prices across the bottom of the screen there. Portugal at a minus 550 on the win. Pretty heavy price there. Huge bomber price on the Uzbeks at plus 1,400 to win. The draw plus 600. Total at 2.5 goals there. Pretty heavily slanted to the over, as you can see there. And the spread, which makes things a little bit more interesting, especially with that goal and a half there for the Uzbeks at a nice plus price of plus 137. What's going on here with Portugal? We'll get to the Cristiano Ronaldo stuff in just a moment, but I thought there were some other things about that 1-1 draw versus the Congo last week that bothered me a little bit, and it bothered a lot of Portugal people there, that it didn't have much to do, at least on the surface, with Cristiano Ronaldo. How about Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, Nuno Mendes? All of them, the contributions were very muted in that game. And, the ratings, 5.5 ratings in that game. None of them performed all that well. And that has to be a little bit of a concern for Portugal. Now, obviously, though, the question that has to be asked is, was Cristiano Ronaldo's presence part of that? And I think this is a very fair debate to have right now. And Roberto Martinez, very nice guy, the head coach of Portugal, bending over backwards to accommodate Cristiano Ronaldo. You talk to a lot of people around the soccer world, and they think Portugal continues to make provisions for Cristiano at his advanced stage here, 41, almost 42 years old, and keeping him in the starting lineup. Now, Martinez has a lot of stats to show you how Cristiano Ronaldo played very well at the Nations League within the last 2 years, and he was one of the leading scorers in the Saudi League. But the fact remains that he doesn't do several things right now on the pitch. He doesn't press. His defensive presence is very minimal there. In the game against Congo last week, he had 29 touches, 3 shots, none of them on target. He was pretty much anonymous in the game. Yet, Roberto Martinez continues to start him and not even pull him out of the game. And I think this is another thing that concerns some people, Portugal fans, late in the match against Congo, when Martinez pulled off Vitinha, he pulled off Neto, he pulled off Nuno Mendes late after the 80th minute, but he kept Ronaldo on the pitch. It seems to me, and a lot of others, that at this stage of his career, there's no way Cristiano Ronaldo should be starting it on the pitch for 90 minutes. Or a little bit more than that if we get into added time here. He's perfectly suited to come off the bench as an impact sub, maybe to score a goal for you late. Just the way Belgium used Romelu Lukaku in the opening match that it had against Egypt, which it didn't do in the second match against Iran on Sunday. And maybe Rudy Garcia should have done that. It's also what Julian Nagelsmann has been doing with Germany. He's got Dennis Undav decided he's going to be our super sub. He scored goals in both of the first 2 Germany matches. He scored a brace, including the late winner in that great match against the Ivory Coast on Saturday. Great role for him. Nagelsmann said, and I'm going to keep him there. That's the sort of role Cristiano Ronaldo should have. But instead, Martinez keeps forcing him into the lineup. We'll see what happens as we move forward here. I don't know, though, if there's really another number 9 that Portugal has on the roster. Gonçalo Ramos, maybe. I mean, he had that hat trick back in 2022 World Cup against Switzerland. When they got in the knockout phases, they did take Cristiano out of the starting lineup. But he's not been in great form lately. And I'm not sure really who is their number 9. Did they give Rafa Leao a shot from AC Milan who's been coming off the bench? I don't know. But it looks like the players are distracted here, and Francisco Conceição even had to mention that in a press conference. No, we're not always looking first for Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think his presence is something of a distraction. And this team did not look that good against Congo. Uzbekistan did not look too bad against Colombia. That was one of the surprisingly good games of the tournament. I think Colombia is a legitimate dark horse and a good game coming up on Wednesday against Congo. But the Uzbeks hung in that game very, very well. They have parachuted in Fabio Cannavaro. You might remember him from Italy's World Cup winners back in 2006, many years. Inter Milan, great defender. He's been coaching for several years in Asia. He came in recently to lend a little bit more experience on the coaching side there. But I've watched the Uzbeks the last friendly against the Netherlands in New York right before the World Cup started. Both dress rehearsal for the World Cup. They played Netherlands pretty heads up, and they were playing Colombia very tough in the first match last week down in Mexico. Now, they call him the Uzbek Messi, Eldar Shumarodov. Watch him. Almost scored a goal late. That could have pulled that match back to 3-2 late against Colombia. By the way, that match was 1-1 well into the second half in the opener for the Uzbeks. And he scored 22 goals in the Turkish Super League this year. That's a good level league. And he's a veteran striker who scored goals also in Serie A for Roma and Genoa in the past. They've got a little firepower here, and they got a little spunk. They didn't look all that bad to me. I think plus a goal and a half with the Uzbeks here is not a bad way to look. Uzbekistan plus a goal and a half in the game at Houston, the first game on Tuesday. That would be my recommendation there. Now, how about the game 2 on Tuesday? That's England getting another shot here after an impressive opening win over Croatia. This game will be up in Boston, Foxborough, at the Patriots Stadium. And they'll be facing Ghana, and they've been treated up there in the Boston area. They had the Scotland fans and the Tartan Army, a lot of color last week. Now they get the England fans to come in, so they've had a good time up there. As you can see from the crawl at the bottom of the screen, England, pretty prohibitive favorite here. Pretty much prices like Portugal in the first matchup there. England minus 500 on the win, Ghana plus 1,200, the draw at plus 600, the total at 2.5, shaded to the over there. On the spread, England minus 1.5 goals, minus 155, 160. On the Asian line, minus a goal, minus 1.75 goals. A little bit better price there at minus 122. One thing you got to remember about some of these matchups where you've got a pretty heavy favorite, but that looks like the side you want to take. Sometimes you just got to roll with the punches, and you're going to have to lay a price with one of these favorites instead of you can look around for some other spots and look for some prop bets there where you might be able to find a better price. But sometimes when you got a favorite, you've just got to, swallow hard. If you think they're going to win, you're going to have to maybe go with a bigger price here and to take your chances. I do think from watching at least the first cycle of games in the opening round, England impressed me more than any team. Let me tell you why. Because it looks like a different England to me under Thomas Tuchel than it was the last several years under Gareth Southgate, who was very pragmatic. He tended to have England play with the handbrake on. And I know Southgate supporters would say, look, he got to the finals of the Euros twice. He got to the semifinals of the World Cup in 2018, got the quarterfinals in 2022. He achieved a lot, but you watched England and you thought they could play better than this. And they were playing always sort of negatively. They didn't usually open it up until they had to. And that pragmatism may have cost England after getting off to early leads in that 2018 game against Croatia in the semifinals of the World Cup in Russia, and then in the Euro final in 2020-21, that game at Wembley against Italy, again off early, off to a 1-0 lead early, and didn't hold it, and then lost that game on PKs. So what have we got here? It looks to me like Tuchel, though, Thomas Tuchel has come in and rethought this whole thing. He's coaching in a much more aggressive manner. And I love some of the substitutes he had coming in, Rashford and Saka and Jed Spence. These were attack-minded substitutes in the second half of the game against Croatia in a game that Gareth Southgate normally would have gone defensive in the second half and tried to set on the lead. You saw Tuchel go for go for the throat here and try to put Croatia to the sword, and they were swarming in the second half, and Rashford finally scored the clinching goal. But after a little bit of an unsteady start, and you got to keep your powder dry for a tournament like this. You can't be firing right from the start. It took a little bit of an adjustment in the first half. Croatia's a clever side, veteran side. They were pressing high, causing England a few problems. But once England got into the match, Harry Kane, very, very effective. Now, he did have that, get a retry on the PK early, hit it on the second try, good for him. Then a header from the corner. He looked in good form. Jude Bellingham scored early in the second half. Tuchel's got all these attacking options, and they are very, very aggressive looking right now. I think Ghana's got some problems here, and I am generally very positive on a lot of these sides from Africa coming in. We've seen Cape Verde perform very well. We mentioned Congo a second ago. They've performed well. Ivory Coast has performed well. Ghana, though, I'm not so sure about. They've had to make a coaching change not too long before the World Cup. Carlos Queiroz, veteran coach, many, many years, coached in the World Cup before. He coached Real Madrid at one point. He came in after Otto got walked the plank there in the spring after some poor efforts in friendlies. They did not look too good in the opener against Panama. I know they got the win, but for much of the game, they looked second best, very disjointed. Right now, I'm not sure Ghana's back up to the level of previous sides. They will get Thomas Partey, their midfielder, who was denied entrance into Canada for the opening game against Panama. He will be available, and he should be on the pitch for this matchup against England. However, Mohamed Kudus, this is a guy that Ghana was hoping would be available from Tottenham, but he missed the last few months of the season with a hamstring injury. He's not there. Antoine Semenyo, a lot of people from watch EPL know him from Man City, and he scored a lot of goals there after moving from Bournemouth during the transfer window. So they've got some players who can do some things. And in the second half against Panama, it got a little bit better as Queiroz started to run the offense more through Semenyo instead of Jordan Ayew from Leicester, who really looked out of sorts in the first half there. So they did improve a little bit in the second half. However, I think England is the side to watch here. They look rampant right now, and they can score a lot of goals. So this one might go, I can certainly see this one going over, even though I got to pay a price for the over. And the spread or the Asian line. Remember, if you go in the Asian line, minus 1.75 goals, you're having to bet. And so it's like laying half the bet at minus a goal and a half the bet at -2. I think there's a chance England could extend this margin. I could see like a 4-1 result here. So I actually might recommend going on the Asian line with England in this match and keep an eye on the three lions. I think Tuchel makes a difference, and these guys are a team to watch. So, okay, that's it for my look at Tuesday action. We'll be back later in the week to take a look at other action as it comes up. Don't forget to click the comment button on the screen there. Comments, I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget my special deal, and our special deal, Wager Talk, 3 days, $69 with another 3 days free. On top of that, 6 days of my picks, $69. We've been doing real well lately. So until next time, more World Cup action upcoming. It's a goodbye from me.